So what do you need to know if you're a gardener? Now, if you're watching this video and you don't know what that means, step one is go back above and take the persona test so that you can get an idea of what your wealth persona is, and then come back down and watch some of these videos as we dive in deeper into explaining the videos. I have this up on the screen. This is from a presentation that I did in an event a few weeks ago. And this is kind of some of the core elements. Wealth is almost guaranteed if you stick with it. I want to really talk about that one in this video because this is kind of the separation point between those that make it and those that don't. As I've talked with more and more individuals in helping them to decipher their wealth persona and to build their wealth worksheet, I've noticed that there's one core trait that separates those that score as a gardener and those that have embraced being a gardener. And that is the longevity to their time frame. What does that mean? I still often talk to individuals that have big number wealth goals while they have small net worths, which is not a bad thing. But they have this really short time frame. They want to go from 0 to 5 million in 3 years. Well, that's not a gardener. A gardener understands that it's a long-term journey, that it's a marathon, not a sprint, is something that you often hear people say. They know that they need to set the groundwork and to be consistently participating in their wealth building journey month after month, year after year, decade after decade. Now, that doesn't mean that they're slaving away at a job that sucks just to build wealth. I typically only talk with and work with entrepreneurs. So they do have that chance of hitting it big in a few years. But the true gardener understands, well, gardening. So they understand that they need to plant their seeds. They need to let them grow. They need to continue to pluck the weeds. They need to continue to churn and harvest their garden each year, but then they have to replant next year. They don't plant an oak tree and expect it to bloom into this beautiful tree in 3 years. It's still going to be tiny in 3 years. And that's what a gardener understands. So if you've scored a gardener, but on your wealth worksheet have a time horizon of like 3 to 5 years, you really have to go back and ask yourself if you're creating a long-term strategy or if you're still acting like a hunter, thinking that you're going to create that amazing product, that amazing course, or find that get-rich-quick scheme. And that's what's going to cause you to make it big. A gardener plans a little bit longer term. With that being said, things will often take longer than you like, but a true gardener really doesn't pay attention to the time horizon, short of making sure that they're on pace to reach their goal. You'll often regret risks you didn't take. I put often in there, but I might need to change that to sometimes. Many of the gardeners that I'm talking to today don't really regret much about the risks they didn't take. They're content with the risks that they did take and the progress that they're making. And if they're not, then they're making changes to what they're doing in order to have a higher likelihood of success. Most gardeners don't fear losing it all. It's not even something that's in their mind. The way that everything's set up and structured, they've eliminated that from their mindset. And sometimes that can be refreshing because I've spent most of my life as a hunter, and you always are worrying about whether or not the rug's going to get pulled out from under you, no matter how well you're doing. I definitely have noticed that gardeners have healthier personal relationships. They're more settled into what they're doing. They're more settled into their journey. And when they're more settled into their journey, they tend to be easier to deal with. I don't want to necessarily say happier because that would mean that hunters are less happy. And I don't have the statistical data to prove that. My assumption is that that's true, but I'm working on the data for that. I am finding that I don't meet a lot of 20-year-old gardeners. And those in their 40s or 50s that are gardeners as entrepreneurs, unless they shifted into that mindset later in life, or they are in what I call core entrepreneurial paths. Let me take that back. Core skill entrepreneurial paths. So that means like the plumber that owns his own business, the electrician that owns her own business, those types of individuals who are on a wealth journey and know that They're $70,000, $80,000 a year, and investing in a certain strategy will help them build that wealth goal that they have in the long run. They might do that in their 20s and 30s, but those that are entrepreneurs that are out in the marketing space or in higher risk spaces that tend to have shorter life cycles, they along the way, if they've made some good decisions and they settle into a path for a longer term period, usually in their 40s and 50s, they typically wish they've done it sooner. And one of the things that's not on this slide that is very, very common is no matter what the age, whether you're 28, you're 34, you're 45, I tend to see a shift from hunters to gardeners right around the time people find out that they're having children. Now, that doesn't mean that they wake up one day and they go from hunter to gardener, but their mindset starts to shift as they've got greater responsibilities coming and they start to think about more long-term strategies for their life. That was definitely the case for me. All right, so if you've watched this video and you still want to chat more, scroll back up. There's a button up there. Click to schedule a call. If you've watched the full presentation, either at an event with me on stage or watched it on this page, feel free to schedule a 30 or 45-minute call. If you haven't watched the full presentation and you want to get a better idea of what this is all about, schedule the 15-minute call. Let's do a quick chat, and then we'll work into a more robust conversation after that. All right, peace.